Thank you so much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Peace and blessings upon us all po. Magandang hapon. Hindi ko na mabilang kung pang ilang forum na ho ito mula nung nangyari ang Mamasapano. But sabi nga namin, one thing na opportunity na ibigay ng incident is that a lot of people are now getting more interested in knowing Moro, DPL, although mas marami pa rin ho yung nagsasalita at nag-iingay lang at hindi nila naiintindihan kung ano yung nangyari. But ako po muli, si Sitti Djalia Turabin-Hataman, predominantly tausog, pero may lahi rin mo akong Yakan, Sama, Maranao, Biranon. So, ganun po ka-complex ang Moro. Kung tatanungin niyo ako saan siya nanggaling, kulang po yung 10 minutes ko para i-explain. But, yun. Notions of justice. Foremost, ang klaro mo sa atin is kasama tayo sa panawagan ng hustisya para sa South 44. Pero sana hindi mo doon mahihinto yung panawagan para sa hustisya. Unfortunately, a lot of those who are calling for justice only see the injustice done to the South 44. And either forgot, chose to ignore, or turn a blind eye to all the other injustices perpetrated to the Moro people, to the rest of the Filipinos. Siguro na-umpisahan natin kanina sa narratives. At if we speak of the injustices, sabi nga, justice for whom? Injustice committed, nino? Who do we want to hold accountable? Who is responsible for this injustice? And what are we willing to sacrifice or give up in the name of this justice, quote unquote, that we seek? Hindi natin maiiwasang bumalik doon sa narratives na sinasabi. As Moro, may kaunting tampo whenever we hear calls for justice sa ibang mga kapatid natin. And yet, para bang kami lang yung perpetrators dito at para bang kami mismo ay hindi kami naging biktima ng injustice. Para bang kami mismo, we do not deserve justice. Case in point, bago ako naging miyembro ng Kongreso, I was a peace and human rights worker. The previous speakers already talked about the different massacres, the different injustices, as early as the 1950s, 1970s, during the martial law hanggang sa Djalia massacre and all. All of these are unknown to the mainstream Filipinos. But let me just cite two incidents in 2008. One February 2008 in Mainbung, Sulu, where 8 people, 7 civilians, including 2 children and 1 pregnant woman, was killed by some members of our government forces. Isa rin sa mga namatay doon ay isang soldier who was on duty. Then in September of the same year, meron din yung isang pamilya, isang tatay, father, and the rest of his family there on board the boat. Tumatakas po sila dahil may operation. And then our Philippine Air Force fired upon their boat, killing the father and 5 children. I'd like to mention their names because there might not be any other opportunity for at least remember them. The father was Daya Manunggol Mandi. The children, Aida, 17 years old, Bailin, 10 years old, King, 8 years old, Dayang, 6 years old, and Faiza, 1 year old. Did the nation call for justice? People are saying now, let us stop this peace process because the MILF cannot be trusted because of what happened in Mamasapano. As peace advocates, dapat po pala in 2008 when these incidents happened, you should have called for the end of the peace process because the Philippine government cannot be trusted. Yun yung mga tanong eh. That's what really makes this situation very heavy for us. Magpa-plug na rin mo ako. We had an opportunity to talk with Boy Abunda, bottom line, and this will be shown tomorrow. Half of the interview, I was either silent or crying. It's so hard to explain, and one of the injustices brought about by this Mamasapano incident is having the Moro, the peace process, hostage to the incident. The discrimination is in its highest. We already have stories about some Muslim students who are experiencing discrimination in schools, outside. But I think one of the greatest discrimination we are experiencing and realizing now is the fact that the realization that our lives, our future is not that valuable for other people. The realization that our lives is determined by what other people think of what happened in Mamasapano or what is in the BBM. Hanggang dun lang ang halaga ng buhay namin. Para sa amin, yun po yung pinakamatinding discrimination. I cannot speak of, I cannot define, I will not attempt to define what is justice now. Parang right now it's so big for me. But I know what injustice is. In the narratives earlier, na-mention mo ni Ma'am Marian na, yes, we invited and we welcomed the Christian settlers to our homeland. Very fresh on sa akin the stories of my grandparents about establishing friendships with the Christian settlers. A friend of mine asked me, when did this all start? Was it when the Christian settlers arrived in Moro land? And when I look back, I realized, no, hindi yun ang naging dahilan. Siguro, nagsimula siya doon nga sa mga polisiya ng gobyerno, ng government. For example, I'd just like to share some historical. Yung usapin ng lupa. 1902 Land Registration Act. Before po nun, the Moros, no, hindi uso sa amin yung titulo ng lupa. Alam lang namin, we say, this land belongs to this family. And that's it. Everybody recognized and respected it. Then all of a sudden, you have the Land Registration Act. All of your land dapat i-register. Ngayon nga po, na may technology, karamihan sa amin can speak English or Filipino, nahihirapan tayo sa pagpaparehistro ng lupain natin. Noon pa ho kaya 1902. And then a year after, meron na namang batas na sinabing, all those hindi na-register under the Land Registration Act, pag-aari na ng state. A year after. Then we also had yung mga batas na nag-set ng maximum homestead, pag-aari, hanggang ilan ang pwedeng maging property ng mga tao. So, we have here okay. We still have also in 1903 Act number 718. It made void land grants from Moro sultans or datus or chiefs or of any non-Christian tribe made without government authority or consent. So just imagine who yung datus and chiefs dati. Talagang yung pag-aari nila sila pa hindi kinu-question. Then all of a sudden, lahat ng mga ipinamimigay nila kung walang authority from the state or consent ay declared void. Then we also have Public Land Act 926. All lands not registered under Act 496 are declared public lands which may be acquired by homestead, purchase, and lease. Then, meron po tayong maximum homestead. But anyway, meron po doon na sinasabing yung non-Moro or yung Christian or US citizens can acquire as much as 16 hectares. But yung Moro or non-Christian, including the IP, can only have as much as 4 hectares. So, doon pa lang po, ang laki na ng naging problema. Sinabayan po ito ng different massacres, ibang mga economic policies which really marginalize the Moro people. Sa ngayon, maliban sa usapin ng Mamasapano, what is very glaring, especially as member of Congress, yung injustice din doon sa deliberations ng Bangsamoro basically. Bugbog na bugbog po kami sa loob. Although, of course, we also have supporters from among the legislators. Pero meron mga 2, 3 to 5 people who always stand up and really try to change everything. Before it was suspended, we're almost through with all the provisions of the DBM. We were just, what the committee did, ad hoc committee did was just propose all the amendments and then we will be voting when we resume. So, you really hear statements which are totally out of context. Realize how ignorant these people are with regards the history of the Bangsamoro. At one point, I had to share my feelings on Facebook. And I said, if you do not know me, if you do not understand me, if you do not like me, why not set me free? I was about to add, why keep me in a marriage which I did not consent to in the first place? Everybody thought it was about me and Eugene. I received private messages like, what's happening? And an aunt even texted me, you're not supposed to post those things and make public your marital problems and all. And I was like, no, it's just my feeling as a Moro. So, which brings us to the issue of what are the Moros fighting for? What is this struggle all about? And we seldom hear it. We seldom hear right to self-determination. We seldom hear karapatan sa sariling pagpapasya. That's why we're totally missing the context. People say, why are you reacting? You're not MILF. And we say, yes, we are not MILF. We may not agree with an armed struggle, but the aspiration the MILF, the MNLF is fighting for is the very same aspiration to be peacefully safe. And that is something that many Filipinos do not understand. What is injustice? Injustice for me right now, what is happening, is an injustice to the victims of Mamasapano in such a way that their death is causing the disintegration of this nation.